Innovators events are completely private, and we only do these things kind of closed door. But today we've made a change, and we are going to be having the first 45 minutes of this event live streamed to YouTube. So that is about to happen. So I'll let Liz figure that out. And while I do that, I will go ahead and share my screen. So stand by for that. So for today's pitch event, this is a special pitch event, as I mentioned, that is focused on COVID-19, something that I think has really obviously taken over all of our lives and deserves our focus and our attention and respect. MedTech Innovator was in the middle of its road tour when COVID-19 hit, and we took a road tour that we were doing in different cities all across the US and around the globe, and we moved entirely online. We took a pause from that road tour today to have a special event focused on COVID-19 because we have a number of startups that are in our portfolio or that were pitching us in this year's pitch cycle who are either already deployed for a solution for COVID-19 or have the ability to rapidly deploy. And we thought it was really important to take a minute, take a pause, and give the opportunity for those startups who really need some immediate attention, the opportunity to meet with our expert ecosystem. We have over 80 experts who are participating today who you'll meet throughout the day. So let me tell you a little bit about the event that we're going to see over the next several hours. I mentioned housekeeping. So quickly, what you'll see here on the screen are a couple of points that I think should help us out today. The first one is it's very important that your audio and video settings are working. So if you haven't already done so, please test out your audio. All you have to do is go to the little left-hand corner of the screen on the bottom left where it says audio, and you can click on that to change the little caret symbol, the little upper kind of arrow looking thing, and you can test your audio if you need to. Other than that, please be on mute. We do like you to have your camera on because this is an interactive event and people like to see each other when they're talking. So that's number one. And then number two is to rename your screen name. So in Zoom, again, in the corner, or depending on where you are in Zoom, where you have your controls, it's usually at the bottom. There should be a little button that says participants. If you click that, you should see a list of names. Scroll through that. I think your name might be at the top, but if not, find your name. Control click on your name or right click on it, depending on what kind of computer you have, and then click rename. And the format we like you to use is name-company. So if you want to put your full name-company, that's fine, or even your first name and a first initial of your last name, that's fine too, dash your company. That's really important because we're going to be moving people around from room to room during the event. And in order to do that, in order to facilitate that, we need to know who you are. So it's super important. You don't have the ability to directly choose which room you're going to be in. Liz is going to be doing all of that for you and pushing Zoom to its very boundaries. So I'm very happy to have all of you joining us here today. So let me tell you now about our event. As I mentioned, I'm Paul Grand, CEO of MedTech Innovator. This event, as I mentioned, is part of our series in our road tour. You see in the lower corner of the screen at MedTech Awards and hashtag MedTech Innovator. Those are our social media handles. At MedTech Awards is for Twitter, and hashtag MedTech Innovator is for LinkedIn. We definitely recommend you use those. We love it when people screen capture and post these things. We've seen incredible virality happen as a result for some of the companies that have presented and for some of the people who presented and been part of the event. So we really hope you'll go ahead and do that. We definitely want to let the world know what we're doing and what these companies are doing. So quickly about MedTech Innovator, and then we can move on. So MedTech Innovator is a nonprofit. We focus on finding the best startups in the entire world, bar none. We do that together with the industry. So this is an industry partnership. We find thousands of companies every single year. We had over 1,000 who applied to MedTech Innovator this year. And then we take those companies and we do everything we can to help them succeed in getting their technology to patients. That's our mission. You see the graduating class of MedTech Innovator last year on the stage from AdvaMed's MedTech conference. Most importantly is behind them, those are the products that have been brought to the market by our alumni. MedTech Innovator has 258 alumni companies who I believe are probably the highest performing network anywhere in the world in terms of MedTech. And so this is really the opportunity for startups to help each other as part of a great network. We have 54 products that have been brought to the market by our alumni, which is pretty terrific. They've gone on to raise over 1.5 billion in follow-on funding. We've had 11 acquisitions, but that product and the market number is really the one that I'm most proud of. We also have 74 companies with regulatory approvals. So pretty exciting. It's an amazing program, and you'll get to hear more about that either today or in other events that we do. So as I mentioned, we're on a road tour sponsored by Medmark, who's a provider in the insurance space for MedTech, who's just tremendous. We have a couple people here from Medmark today. This is where we've been so far on the road tour, either in person or online, as you see here. So we've already completed everything you see to the left. We also have a U.S. military event that's going to be next week on May 5th and 6th. And if you like participating today and you want to participate next week, please reach out and let us know, and we'd be happy to include you in that. Those will be technologies specifically for the U.S. Army. So a little bit about MedTech Innovators program, and then we're going to get right into the meat here. So MedTech Innovators, I mentioned, does run an accelerator and a showcase program. And the idea is to find startups that need some guidance. As I said, everyone really needs guidance. And that has a lot to do with the investment climate in the universe out there, that a lot of the people who are funding startups who get them off the ground really don't have a lot of experience in bringing those products to market. And so we've brought together the best ecosystem in the entire world. You see some pictures here on the screen from our summit last year, where we basically bring together the experts, no matter where they are in the world, the best experts in the industry, and we bring together the best startups in the industry, and the two of them come together to create products that really, as I said, are going to change the healthcare ecosystem, improve outcomes, bend the cost curve, do all the things that we want. And especially in the case of COVID-19, we wanted to make sure that we had experts together and assembled who could help startups that are racing towards delivering a solution. The end of our program is at the MedTech conference. That's AdvaMed's conference, which will be held this year in Toronto, October 4th through 7th. I'm mentioning this here specifically for you so you can kind of see that a lot of the companies that are presenting here today are actually in contention for this opportunity. So in addition to the resources that hopefully you'll be able to provide today and the feedback and guidance, these startups also have the opportunity to be in our showcase that you see on the left, where they're presenting to the audience at the MedTech conference on their exhibit floor. And on the right, we have a competition where we give away up to $350,000 in non-dilutive funding. The first prize winner will get $350,000 this year. So it's a great opportunity for people to be in front of the leadership of the industry, not just up on that stage, but showcasing to all the particular people they need to know. So it's an exciting opportunity, something that we're very proud to be able to offer. And some of the startups that you're going to be hearing today are in contention for that, although some of them are also alumni who've been in this exact same position, who've pitched on those stages and have been part of this program in the past. So we're very excited to be able to welcome some of them back, including finalists from our past program who happen to have solutions for COVID-19. So that's the overview on MedTech Innovator, to give you a little bit of background about our organization in the larger context. But today's event, as I mentioned, is focused just on COVID-19. So one of the things that is important to know about MedTech Innovator is that we're partnered with Barda, specifically the Barda Drive program. And to tell you more about Barda Drive, we have Sandeep Patel, who's director of Barda Drive, and he's going to share his slides. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here on my screen sharing, and then I'm going to let Sandeep go ahead and share your slides. So Sandeep, if you want to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Perfect.
And you see slides?
We can. Yep.
All right,
you want to go full screen on that? There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are exactly. So exciting moment for Pitch Day. It's too bad we can't do this in person, but I'm looking forward to some of the future events that Paul outlined where we can. I always find these things energizing. The room has energy when there's ideas being thrown around everywhere. So I started about 4 weeks ago in this role as director of the Barda Division of Research, Innovation, and Venture, or Drive. Previously, I was leading innovation efforts across HHS. And I actually spent the last 4 years focused on breaking down innovation barriers for kidney disease, particularly trying to accelerate development of things like an artificial kidney that could supplant dialysis. And one of the things, and we created an innovation program where we intentionally reached out beyond the usual suspects to students, to a variety of startups, to other sectors of industry. And one of the things that as part of the design, but I didn't quite appreciate, was how much of a catalytic effect there is when you bring in a mix of experts, a mix of non-experts, a mix of outsiders from different industries, new ideas that whether or not early stage ideas translate to actual commercialized products, they end up challenging the status quo and the thinking of everyone else in the room, which I think is powerful, and I can see that happening in our work in kidney disease. And I think part of this is the magic in decoupling people who understand the problem really well and those who have potential solutions to those problems. And that's sort of part of the I think philosophy behind Drive, and at least one I'm definitely going to bring into it as we move forward. But just to take a step back real quick, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but if you guys don't know HHS, we're a large government department. We're a regulator of products through the FDA. We fund the largest funder of biomedical research in the world through NIH. We operate as a health insurer through CMS, Medicare, Medicaid. And we have CDC and public health functions, as well as a variety of other things. Barda and ASPR, the Assistant Secretary of Preparedness and Response, under which, these organizations were created in 2006 following events like Hurricane Katrina and the 2001 anthrax attacks. And those events and others sort of led to this increased recognition that we need a better approach. That we need a better approach to respond to threats, especially complex 21st century threats that are often unknown or hard to predict. And we needed a way to rapidly develop new products and solutions to address those, whether, and these include things that are deliberate, accidental, or natural emergencies and threats. Drive specifically was set up a couple of years ago to expand upon that idea of rapid development, but really recognize that innovation is really complex now, and that we don't necessarily know where to look to source innovation, and that if we're going to be successful, we need to create an ecosystem, a network that is broad enough and deep enough where as problems arise, we can find the right people and the right solutions, the right startups, the right ideas that can address them and bring people together in the right sort of collaborations. And I think this sort of underpins the work of the Accelerator Network. And just sort of philosophically, in terms of how we approach problems, we sort of look at end to end, right? We're recognizing that it's not necessarily just about developing new products in the old ways, but about fundamentally thinking about the processes that underpin the development of new solutions, whether that's research, development, manufacturing, validation, adoption, distribution. These are all areas where I think there's opportunities for innovation, and we're looking intentionally at how do we disrupt these to again improve the process for sourcing often unknown and unpredictable solutions to unpredictable and unknown problems. Cool. So this is our accelerator network that we propped up as Drive started. And MedTech Innovator is one of the network. And this is, again, our idea for trying to create a more cohesive ecosystem where we can, not only reach and hear from, folks on the ground in a variety of circumstances across the country, but be able to share sort of the priorities that we have to these folks and make this connection between supply and demand and also to accelerate, not only source solutions, but to accelerate the process, through wraparound services, through creating this network that essentially eliminates all unnecessary risk to getting these products available for use for health security purposes. Currently, So we have several areas of interest. I'll just sort of run through them real quick. We're planning on expanding these, but these are sort of the initial programs, that we launched. One called ENACT, where we're looking at really how do we close the gap between identifying whether someone is going to need treatment and whether they might have a future disease state. And that could be through a variety of technologies, and close the gap between that and delivering the right kinds of treatments for that. So there's I think a variety of process improvements, technology improvements, capabilities that we have to test that sort of change that paradigm of disease prediction, diagnosis, and treatment. We have another program around sepsis, which is recognizing that sepsis is a condition that's often unrecognized, underappreciated, but common among a lot of things, including COVID. And that, again, we have the ability to leverage technology and new approaches to both predict, identify, and treat sepsis along a continuum of care. And we're also looking at, again, process improvements, right? So thinking about bold, radical, disruptive innovations across the board, whether that's delivery systems for vaccines, whether that's new ways to design therapeutics and a variety of other things. So we set up Drive specifically to be that kind of space and hub to look beyond sort of the usual thinking of product development in this space. For the sake of time, I will sort of skip these, but know those are our programs, sepsis and ENACT. What I wanted to pivot real quick to is, why we're here today, which is we are in a unique situation. I can't think of another time, as the country is quickly trying to respond to COVID-19 in the world, where, we require the deep and broad bench of American ingenuity to come to bat. This is a time, I think, where we generally, all of us, can benefit from the contributions, the insights from a variety of industries, from a variety of startups, from a variety of people. Events like these are great because it provides that forum to pitch these ideas, and give it, and with an opportunity to really scale these to addressing COVID immediately. So I think we need more of that, and I really want to just thank everyone for doing what's really important work that matters and can potentially save lives. So thanks. I'm super excited to hear about the work you're all doing. So with that, I'll turn it back over to actually, sorry, I skipped one piece real quick. Just want to lay this out. So we have a solicitation open. So we pivoted all of our solicitations that were normally in the programs I just mentioned, all specifically to COVID. So just for your benefit, so we have a variety of them up around diagnostics, vaccines, and therapeutics. And you can see the 4.1 categories around the 3 areas of diagnostics that we are currently looking for solutions to. These include point of care diagnostic assays, other types of diagnostic tests, remote patient monitoring and diagnostic tools, which covers a variety of tools that, given the situation, can allow us to do things more remotely, leveraging technology, which is important, obviously. And again, vaccine development and technologies that allow advanced manufacturing to support COVID, which is an interest of Barda. So these are areas of current interest. And going back, there's different ways to interact with Barda. So we are trying to be as customer service oriented as possible, trying to talk to companies as early as possible to give them a sense of sort of what we're looking for, what we care about, where, provide feedback to folks. So there's a variety of ways to do this. You can request a meeting. We call these tech watches, and in this case now, Corona watches. And if you go to medicalcountermeasures.gov, you can check out the way to request that meeting. And this is a way to get in front of a bunch of experts across the US government and let your technology kind of be known across the group. We also have this broad agency announcement that I just mentioned, the areas of interest for, where it's a very simple process. It takes a day to register, and then you submit an abstract, and it'll set up a process to review. We normally advertise this as turning around awards within 30 days. We've within COVID have done this in as few as 12 days. And so we're trying to process these as fast as possible. We have larger funding vehicles for larger projects with the easy BAAs for $749,000 and less. For larger projects, more mature projects, we have a bigger broad agency announcement. And you can see that again on medicalcountermeasures.gov. And then we also have, as part of our health, network, accelerator network, amazing hubs like the MedTech Innovator, Paul and his group, where you can talk to for potential alignment to Barda interests. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Paul. Thank you all very much.
Great, thank you, Sandeep. Great to be working with you again.
Yeah.
Great to have you over at Barda after leaving and being part of Kidney X and other activities at HHS. So great having you here and working with you again. So you heard about Barda and Drive. It's something that MedTech Innovator does quite a bit, is spend time on the Drive program. It's something that we are very proud of because it allows us to prepare for exactly the kind of situation we have today. And as I said, obviously, with COVID, and the intent of today's meeting is specifically to find people who could help companies that either are deploying for this particular pandemic or who have the ability to do so very soon. So let me share my slides again and take us now into the next phase of this meeting today. So here we go. So thank you again, Sandeep, for that overview. One of the things that we always like to tell people is that it's easy to fail in healthcare. Unfortunately, this is harder than most tech spaces where people are just developing apps like TikTok and Instagram. And if you mess up, you can fix things. This is healthcare, and failure is fatal. So we don't want you to fail. Catherine Zavala and I wrote an article not too long ago about why healthcare startups fail. I encourage you to Google this. It's on Stat News. Just look 10 reasons why healthcare startups fail. We based this on thousands of startups that we had observed. And these are some of the reasons why they fail. Getting out of your echo chamber, number 10, is the most important thing in my opinion, because people tend to stay in a little closed ecosystem. They don't get enough feedback. Everyone who's participating today has already done that. So we're thrilled that you guys have checked off number 10, but I encourage you to Google this because we do not want you to fail. That's very important to us. You're going to be meeting a lot of people today. Some of the people you're going to be meeting are from our sponsors. So MedTech Innovator is, I mentioned, a nonprofit formed by the industry. These are the companies that support us financially, but more importantly, they support us with their personnel and their people and their time. And you're going to get a chance to meet a lot of these people here today from these companies. So you'll learn more about them in the different private sessions that are coming up. What's kind of amazing is that we have, as I mentioned, over 80 experts who are participating today to help the startups. I'm just going to put the slides up here on the screen. I'm not going to read everyone's name because it just frankly would take me the rest of this meeting and I don't have time, but I do want to acknowledge the people who are participating. And so everyone who's on this, because you may only get to meet a handful of the people from in each of your rooms. So I want to make sure that everybody sees kind of everyone who's participating. I'm going to go through these 3 slides. I feel like these are like the credits to a movie because we have so many people. We are based in Los Angeles, so I guess that's in our blood. But here's just a couple examples. You see how many people on the right over there here from Barda. Very important that I point out that the participants from Barda will be, like everybody, spread into different rooms today. So we have 16 different parallel breakout rooms that we're going to be moving people in and out of. Liz will be doing that, and she has to do that all manually, so it's quite a bit of work. So you will not necessarily get to meet all of the people from Barda, but you will get to meet a bunch of them. So we've set it up so that you should be able to meet people, several people from Barda for each one of our startups. So go ahead and take a look at those names, and then lastly, our final screen here of experts. So you're going to get to meet a lot of people. I wish I could introduce them all. I will introduce some of them during the breaks coming up. But you're going to get a chance to meet some terrific people with a lot of expertise in bringing products to market. Everyone from investors to strategics in the industry, providers, hospital systems, and others, government agencies, and so on. So very quickly, I'm going to give a little orientation as to how this works for our experts, because it's extremely important that they know how to do the feedback form. So very quickly, for the experts who haven't done this before, you were emailed a URL with a form. If you didn't get that form, you could always email Liz or message Liz during this privately, and she can take care of making sure you have the login for it, but you should have it. It's also in the calendar invite for today's meeting. So for our experts, you click on the link, type in your judge_ID number as your username and password. You'll see this form. For each company that you meet with, you just click the little radio button next to their name. Then you scroll down, you type in your notes. We will be giving you the ability to get all of your notes after this, so you don't have to write down your notes on a pad. You can write them on the screen here. Then you go on to the feedback section. So the first box says feedback anonymously sent to the company. That's exactly what it means. We will be sending a PDF to every one of these companies with the information that goes into this box. So if you want to type any highlights, any comments for the companies, constructive criticism, this is the place to do it. We encourage you to do so because that feedback is really important. And even though they're going to be listening to your feedback during the session today, it's possible that some of them may not be taking enough notes. So whatever you can put into that box would certainly be appreciated. Rating the opportunity 1 to 10, this is really about your perception as to how likely this thing is to succeed in general. So that's what we're looking at here, 1 to 10. Again, we're not awarding a prize, so don't worry about the score so much, but how strong is this opportunity, 1 through 10, 10 being the strongest. Were you aware of the company is either yes or no, meaning that were you aware before MedTech Innovator. Rating the innovation is pretty obvious. We want you to give some quick values for the overall value to the patient, technical feasibility, team strength, healthcare economics, and likelihood of funding. You may not have the expertise to answer all these questions. If you don't, just give it a 3 as a neutral. Otherwise, give it a high score on the 5 or a low score on the 1. And it's fine. We're not giving out a prize. We just want to get a general benchmark. The next 2 fields, successes and challenges, those are just, again, highlights, just some quick comments. We're going to put them all up on the screen later for all of us to look at together. We want to make sure we're able to kind of summarize some of that on screen. So that's what that's for. And the last one over there is very, very important. Would you be interested in flying for this company to provide intros, resources, or other assistance? This is extremely important. That means that after this session, we're going to be reaching out to those companies that participated to provide them with some resources. And if you're someone who thinks you can help the companies, click yes in this box. It doesn't mean we're going to automatically intro you. We will still follow up with you, but we do want to know who's interested in providing additional resources. If you have contacts, for example, if someone says, hey, I need 50 patients for a study that we're doing, 50 COVID patients, and maybe your institution's got them, you can follow up and give them that information. Additional comments is for anything you weren't able to capture, type in that box. If you've run out of time and the next company's pitching, you can check that little box that says save as draft and then hit submit. Otherwise, hit submit, the page will reload and you'll be ready to start again by clicking the box for the next company. If you save it as draft, you'll see a little button in the corner of your top left of your screen with a number. If you click that number, it will expand and it'll save the queue of anything that you've saved as a draft. So that's the overview. We now have 16 companies that are going to be working with us today and presenting for today. You can learn more about those companies on our website, which is medtechinnovator.org. And the actual page is medtechinnovator.org/COVID-19. That will have more information about each of these startups and links to their websites, as well as contact information. We're going to be updating that page as well because we actually have over 80 startups that are part of MedTech Innovator's portfolio who have technologies for COVID. These are just the first 16 that we selected to present today. And we did so because their solutions were closest to market, either in the market already or soon to be in the market. So that's why we chose these companies. I'm going to have each of them do a 1-minute pitch right now so that you can get to know them, because each of you as an expert is only going to get to see 5 of those companies for one of your 20-minute sessions. So you want to make sure you had a chance to get a sense of all 16, even if you weren't going to have a chance to meet with them in person or in those pitch rooms. So I'm going to bring up the slides for the companies in the order that you see here. So first is going to be Abreos Biosciences, which is one of our alumni. So Bradley Messmer, if you want to give us a 1 minute on Abreos and make sure to kind of just give a little plug for something that you could use. If there's something that you need as a resource or something that you're looking for, try and squeeze it into your 1 minute. And if you can't squeeze it in, you'll have 20 minutes with a group of experts after this. Watch the corner. I'm going to have a little countdown timer that will actually show you how much time you have left. And if it turns red, that's the time to wrap up. So Bradley, take it away.
Great. And can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So I'm Bradley Messmer. I'm the founder and CEO of Abreus Biosciences. Our core business is measuring antibodies. We have a technology that allows us to quantitatively measure antibody levels, which we had originally developed for therapeutic antibodies. However, this could easily be adapted to measuring antibodies against the coronavirus. And this is, I think, as we all now appreciate, really the next major need in this pandemic, is to understand who's had the disease and are they protected from reinfection. The first generation of tests coming to market are really suffering from poor accuracy, and they're a simple yes/no that just broadly says maybe you've had the virus. Our technology can dissect the immune response by individually measuring specific types of antibodies quantitatively to see which of those is really the one that can drive immunity to future infection. We've formed a joint venture with a company that has an excellent point of care reader platform. We've successfully executed custom projects with pharma partners and the FDA. So the technology is mature. We're just looking for the resources to do the initial discovery that can quickly be translated onto our point of care or licensed out to other point of care platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley. All right, we'll see more of this later. Next up, Adar. So Satya.
Yep. Every single day, I'm living with a fear of managing my mom with pre-existing condition. This is due to the COVID-19, and I cannot just be running around finding a thermometer or taking her always to the hospital or an ER. That's why we created Mouth Lab. It measures more than 10 vital health parameters in just 30 seconds. It is a non-invasive handheld device, and we measure both early and progressive COVID-19 symptoms. The sensor data is sent in real time using 4G, so you don't need to even have a smartphone. And it's very easy to use by any patient population, so that the sensor data in the cloud can be actually used by AI and machine learning algorithms to predict early signs of an acute exacerbation or onset progression or recovery of COVID-19 patients. The data can also be visualized by a physician's dashboard. We are clinically proven, patent protected. We essentially built a check engine light for humans. Today, I'm here to get some funding and also for support from partners. So please reach out if you guys have any interest.
Terrific. Thank you, Satya. All right, next up, we have AMP. So Randall.
Good morning. COMET is predictive analytics monitoring, decision support that uses real-time streaming data to warn up to 8 hours before patient deterioration. COVID-19 requires urgent triage of patients and fully optimized hospital resources. COMET monitors tell you at a glance which patients will get better or worse. The numbers in the heads of the COMETs are bed numbers. If you think the patients in beds 93 and 89 need to be seen, then you get it how COMET monitoring works. Other COMET views let you triage acuity for units and for the whole hospital. We've used AI and machine learning to train 300 COMET models on 150,000 patients and 100 terabytes of monitoring data. We've written lots of papers and we've gotten 8 patents. COMET is software as a service and works with all the leading EHRs and monitors. AMP has targeted big partners. We have an initial 3-year non-exclusive contract with Premier Inc. to distribute COMET to its 4,000 member hospitals of all sizes. And we've signed 2 hospitals in Q1. We're looking for contracts and customers.
Excellent. Thank you, Randall. Great to have you guys back. All right, next up, we have Bardi. So Ken.
Hi, I'm Ken Nelson, Chief Commercial Officer for Barda Diagnostics. Barda DX is an innovator in digital health and remote patient monitoring. We focus on providing the highest fidelity rhythm strips, most patient-friendly cardiac monitors, and most diagnostically accurate reports. Our Carnation Ambulatory Monitor, or CAM patch, is a P-Wave-centric up to 14-day cardiac arrhythmia detection device. In terms of COVID-19 patients, we were able to accurately diagnose or accurately monitor QT intervals, which is critical for COVID-19 patients currently taking hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, or any other experimental or investigational drugs that may prolong the QT interval or cause other cardiac arrhythmias. We're actually the only external cardiac monitoring patch that's been clinically validated to accurately monitor QT intervals, and we're currently being used in clinical studies of COVID-19 patients at Walter Reed, as well as the University of Washington and multiple other centers. So look forward to discussing this further.
Thank you, Ken. Great to have you back as well. All right, next we have Circadia. So Faris.
Hi, Faris Siddiqui, CEO and co-founder of Circadia. We provide remote monitoring for respiratory care. We save lives through early detection of respiratory failure, whether that's COVID-19 induced pneumonia, opioids, sepsis, COPD, and we do that using our contactless sensor, which monitors respiratory status wirelessly from up to 8 feet away without touching the patient, combined with our predictive data analytics platform. What this means is that you can get remote assessments from patients to reduce the risk of infection, and it also allows for ventilator triage to identify decompensating patients earlier. We're deploying across UCLA Health and the Cleveland Clinic. The product is reimbursable by CMS post our FDA clearance, which is just a couple of weeks away now. We're looking for funding for our clinical trials and mass production, and we're also looking for partners, providers, health systems, and distributors across the entire continuum of care.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Great technology. All right. Next up, Collabs, Clay Nolan.
Can you hear me okay?
We can, Clay. Yes.
Beautiful. This is Clay Nolan. I'm CEO of Collabs Medical, where we've been developing the Ventor for the past 5 years. The Ventor is like the AED, emergency airway and ventilation. So simple to use that almost anyone can operate it, but yet contains the sophisticated technology required to save lives during cardiac arrest. Two of the novelties that set the device apart are smart airway that can automatically identify if it's in the trachea or the esophagus and ventilate accordingly, and the ventilator's ability to detect chest compressions during CPR and rapidly respond with ventilation, which increases vital blood flow. In response to the COVID crisis, we have leveraged the initial technology to develop a high-functioning ICU-capable ventilator to meet the immediate demand, and we already have emergency use authorization from the FDA. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Great to have you back. Clay, someone I've known for about a decade, since he emailed me when he was an EMT and said, I got an idea that is going to change healthcare. So great to have you back here, Clay. All right, next up, G&A, Anastasia.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Hi, everyone. My name is Anastasia. I'm Vice President of Strategic Marketing and Partnerships at G&A Biosolutions in Germany. And what we do at G&A is develop fast and portable molecular diagnostics platforms. Our core innovation is a new technology that reinvents the cornerstone of molecular diagnostics, PCR, and we call it pulse control amplification, PCA. So what our technology does is make PCR tests very, very fast, typically just a few minutes, and it makes it possible to run those reactions in small, energy-efficient instruments that are perfect for near-patient testing. So we have a couple of solutions that we've been working on for COVID-19, which you can see on the slide. On the top of the slide is a small portable batch testing system that can test 8 samples at a time, which we're planning to launch in Germany with a COVID test in July. And on the bottom of the screen, you see we've gotten rid of the instrument altogether, and we're doing a disposable COVID test in the next generation platform, which would be ready for clinical validation by the end of 2020. So we'd love to talk to the group here today about mechanisms to bring our solutions to the U.S. market.
Terrific. Thanks, Anastasia, and great seeing you again. All right, next up, Inflamatics. Tim.
I'm Tim Sweeney, CEO and co-founder of Inflamatics. Inflamatics is a novel molecular diagnostics company that focuses on using host response biomarkers, meaning mRNA patterns in the blood, to predict infectious disease and sepsis. Here, we're taking a slightly different track, which is we've created a 5-gene test, which has been prospectively validated in COVID-19 patients for a 96% sensitivity to rule out severe cases. and are developing it as an 8-well test strip that could be run in any existing cleared thermal cycler, and so could be produced en masse and avoid typical supply chain issues with widespread deployment of novel technologies. Essentially, a patient would come to the emergency department after diagnosis with SARS-CoV-2. You would run our test. It could run in about 20 minutes in batches of up to 12. We could quickly tell whether the patient needs to come into the hospital or not. We think this could have a major impact on hospital surge capacity and so our ability to actually reopen society quickly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. All right. Next up, we have Mom Incubators, James Roberts.
Hey, Paul, can you see me and hear me?
We can.
Perfect. So, hi, everybody. My name's James. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mom Incubators, or Mom. We've created a portable and versatile neonatal incubator that can go anywhere, anytime. We've been contacted by NHS trusts to use our system. Basically, they're seeing a need to increase capacity when you get the incidence of COVID increasing and NHS staff dropping off. In our world, birthing centres close down. So there's a need, neonates are then repatriated to NICU, so there's a need to increase capacity. There's also a new recommendation out saying that any child that is COVID positive or suspected COVID positive is to be weaned in an incubator, mainly because they are traditionally used in the infection control pathway. I'm here to see if this is also a problem in the US. Thanks.
Terrific. Great to have you back, James.
It's cool.
And thanks for staying up. I know it's a little late there in the UK. All right. Next up, Robert Quinn from Patched.
No one can hear me. Here I am talking out loud and no one can hear me. Hey guys, I'm Rob. I'm CEO and co-founder of Patched. Believe it or not, this is the current state of at-home remote monitoring for COVID. A sheet of paper held up to the webcam. Right now, clinicians are sending COVID patients home to telehealth, but have no quantitative information to know exactly how they're progressing. The information black hole then forces many patients to needlessly present back to hospital, which puts everyone at risk. Now, there is a better way. We have leveraged our existing knowledge in remote patient monitoring and data analysis to build a rapidly scalable way to provide key vitals back to clinicians. To do this, we provide patients with low-cost, off-the-shelf FDA-cleared thermometers and pulse oximeters, which pair via our mobile application. Patients are then prompted to take measurements 4 times daily, and this information is shared not only with that patient's clinician, but also with their hospital for mission control. By achieving this rapid sharing of information at low cost, high accuracy, and significant scale, we hope to keep these patients home and then give the physicians the information they need to save their life. So if you can introduce us to hospitals in the US, that would be awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Great seeing you again, Robert. All right, next up, Potrero, Jeff.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Alvarez, the head of product at Potrero Medical, where we're combining remote vital sign monitoring with in the ICU with precision fluid management and AI to address some of the 3 of the biggest issues we face with COVID-19. We can help reduce exposure risk to our clinicians. We help reduce demand on ventilators, and we help reduce the need for dialysis. We have systems currently in the market that are supporting COVID-19 patients today, and we're looking for support to get our platform into the hands of more clinicians to help their patients and protect their care teams. I look forward to sharing the story with more of you today.
Terrific. Great having you back. Thank you, Jeff. All right, next up, we have Prognosis. So Bobby, you have to unmute if you haven't already.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, so my name is Bobby Reddy, CEO of Prognosis. Prognosis is commercializing the Munich system, which is basically a clinical decision support tool that identifies the right treatment for patients suspected of many different serious infections in hospitals, including COVID-19. One thing we really need for COVID-19 are better tools to really risk stratify for these patients. As Tim mentioned, this is a way to help determine which patients are safe to stay at home, which patients need escalated care, and potentially patients need oxygen support. So what Immunix does is it brings together many different elements that have never been combined before for this patient population. So this is clinical data from electronic medical records, a new biomarker data generated by our own proprietary processes, and artificial intelligence. So we partnered with many healthcare systems in the past to grow a data set that combines biomarkers from blood samples with EMR data. Lately, we've expanded that to include COVID-19 positive patients. What we're looking for right now is resources to keep growing this data set and to validate our system for the patients and then submit the results to the FDA. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bobby. All right, next up, we have RizLab. So Mehdi.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mehdi Javanmard, president of RizLab Health, which is a Rutgers University spinoff where we're taking hematology analysis out of the labs and bringing it directly to the patient fingertips. So recent studies from COVID-19 patients have shown that low levels of white blood cells and low levels of lymphocytes are signatures of disease severity in COVID-19 patients. And so as testing and screening for COVID-19 patients is increasing, there is an ever-increasing need to identify those high-risk patients that will likely experience severe infection and also require hospitalization. So I introduce you the CytoTracker, the first ever wireless mobile hematology analyzer that will perform CBC within minutes using a drop of blood. The CBC is currently performed using bulky benchtop hematology analyzers and centralized lab facilities that cost at least $10,000 and require a full blood draw. We currently have a contract with Barda Drive and ACT for developing an AI-fired hematology analyzer that can quantify do the CBC within minutes and be manual less than $100. So given the importance of these markers in the context of the current epidemic, that we accelerate and ramp up our efforts for testing and production of our devices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi. All right, next up, we have Sentinel. So Dave.
Hi, good morning, afternoon, everybody. My name's Dave. I am the CEO and CTO of Sentinel Biosensor, and we produce C-Detect. C-Detect is a low-cost wearable vital signs monitor that's been specifically built for COVID-19, and it's worn on the upper arm 24/7. The design is based on our Sentinel sensor that we've been developing over the last 4 years with 5 academic university hospitals. C-Detect is a cut-down version of that sensor. C-Detect works out of the box. You can mail it to users. It needs no connectivity. It doesn't need a mobile phone. All the user needs to do is wear it. Everyone, young and old, can use this. C-Detect can optionally pair with a mobile phone, and over-the-air updates for the device and the thresholds can be changed in the field. And the phone is also used to take additional data such as age, comorbidities, and ethnicities, and from that we can adjust the thresholds accordingly. Clinicians can also override all the threshold values. From telling the user when to get help, C-Detect just reduces the spread of infection. People who show signs of infection in the workplace can be asked to go home and self-isolate, and C-Detect will be ready to market by July this year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Spry. So PJ.
Hey, morning. Good to see you, Paul. My name is PJ. I'm the founder and CEO of Spry Health. Spry Health has developed Loop, which is the only high engagement, data-rich remote monitoring solution. This platform is powered by an easy-to-use wearable, which is a Class 2 medical device, was cleared last year. Monitors continuous SpO2 respiratory rate and heart rate. The software that we deploy to healthcare organization uses these data streams to risk stratify the patients based on the trends that we see in their physiology, which enables clinicians to intervene at the first signs of deterioration. And so for the past 5 years, we've been building the predictive data science behind this platform to solve a chronic respiratory disease use case. So as the COVID-19 crisis hit, our team of healthcare veterans and leading data scientists realized it was a perfect fit for monitoring of people diagnosed or at risk for COVID-19. And our data is basically what the WHO recommends to monitor. So as a result, health systems are now able to quickly deploy the solution, keeping high-risk patients at home and decongesting emergency departments. So my ask today, we're looking for funding to grow and deploy this to more customers and also connections to health systems and provider groups. I'm looking forward to telling you more about Spry in the small group sessions. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thanks, PJ, and great seeing you again, too. All right, and Thorasis. Yvan.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Good day, Yvan Baudouin, CEO of Thorasis. Thoracists involved already in a respiratory diagnostic and monitoring for patients with asthma, COPD. We just acquired a new technology called REOM, which we believe would be a great asset in the case of COVID-19 patient. The REOM is a diagnostic and monitoring tool that measure lung mechanics such as resistance, which is a clear indication for obstruction of the lung. It's a portable device. It could be used in the home setting for home monitoring, for patient monitoring, but it could also be used into the hospital setup in case where you fear of a contamination, because the low cost of the device allowed to have a single use with per patient. So a great tool to monitor lung function and resistance for patient in the case of COVID-19. We're looking for clinical trial site in the US. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. All right, so that is the end of our lightning round. So hopefully everyone enjoyed those 1-minute pitches. It's never easy to tell your entire story in 1 minute, and everybody did a great job. So great job, everybody. As I mentioned before, what this next session is going to be, or this next part of the meeting, is that we're going to break out into different groups. So the 80+ judges and experts, as I call them, who are here, are going to be grouped into those different 16 rooms. For the most part, they'll be staying in that room, although in some cases, the experts will move from room to room because of the scheduling requests that they had. So Liz, in between each one of these rounds, there's going to be 5 rounds, and so in between each one of these, Liz has to go in and change the settings in Zoom to move people around from those breakout rooms. Minimally, she has to move the startups from room to room, and then in some cases, she has to move the judges as well. So for the most part, judges, you're going to stay still in your room, or you'll stay in the same room, and you'll get to work with the other judges and get to know each other a little bit. Or the other experts. The way I like to describe this is that this next session it's a feedback session. So this is not for a competition today. This is for the prize of deployment, really, right? We want to make sure these startups succeed in getting these technologies deployed, or if they're already deployed, we want to help them scale. So the questions and the discussion that you should be having in these 20-minute sessions revolves around that. In each one of these sessions, the startups are going to give a short pitch so you understand more about the technology and what they're doing. So we ask you to try and keep that to 5 minutes tops. And then you should have a lot of discussion. And startups, you should be doing as much asking of questions as well. So people are going to ask you questions to clarify things, but please, you ask questions as well of the experts. When we start each of these sessions, everybody should quickly go around and introduce themselves, so we know who's in the room. I'll be in one of the rooms. We'll have some of our other team members from MedTech Innovator in those rooms who will help kind of moderate those. But if you don't have a MedTech Innovator person in your room, I ask one of our seasoned judges to take on that responsibility and kind of self-moderate and just quickly go around the room and introduce, so the person who's presenting knows who's there and where you're from, so they know what questions to ask, basically. And for the presenters, if you go into a room and you don't see the people who you thought were going to be in that room on the list, don't worry about it. Each room, as I mentioned, has people moving around, so from time to time, somebody might not be there. But again, experts, this is your chance to offer resources. This is your chance to offer guidance. This is your chance to say, hey, you know what, I can help. I'm going to get in touch with you later. And so please do offer those resources and expertise. That's what today is about. That's why you're spending your time, and we really appreciate you taking your time today to do this. So if it's somebody who needs some development resources, please, offer those, say we'll help you out with that later. Or if it's just, an introduction that you can make, that's just fine too. So whatever it is, we appreciate your time. Each of these sessions will last 20 minutes. There'll be a little notice that comes up at the 10-minute point at the top of the screen. A little bar will come up and it'll say 10 minutes left in this session. So keep an eye out for that. Startup, if you haven't stopped pitching your slides by 10 minutes, you've gone way over. So please watch for that little notice and stop by 10 minutes so your experts have time to ask you questions and offer you suggestions. And then you'll see a 5-minute warning. And then finally, when there's 60 seconds left, a little box is going to pop up on the screen and take up most of the screen and warn you that there's 60 seconds left, and it'll start counting down at the bottom. That's a good time to wrap up. So if you haven't done so already, you can wrap up then. And say, whatever, if you guys want to say, hey, you can follow up with me later. I got some suggestions for you. I'm going to put a URL into the chat box during one of the breaks that has a link to our bio book. The bio book has the contact information and the names and photos and bios of every single one of the people who's on this Zoom today. So that's over 100 people who you'll see on that list. All their information will be there, so you can email them and get in touch with them afterwards. So don't worry about writing down someone's email address during this broadcast, because you don't need to. It's all going to be there for you in the link. So that's it. There are going to be 5 of these 20-minute sessions with a short break in between each one. So that's a good time to go stretch or take a quick break if you need to. Other than that, enjoy today. We're going to knock through these quickly. And so Liz, are you ready to go for the first session? All right, great. So Liz is going to click a button. You're going to see a little thing pop up on your screen that says enter your breakout room. Just hit OK or enter, and you will be instantly transported into your breakout room. So no need to get up or walk anywhere. See you guys in 20 minutes.